So I don't know how many of you have read Naomi Klein, The Shock Doctrine, but I would recommend it. I would recommend you find out all about it. The Shock Doctrine is basically a book that shows how right-wing ideologues who want to privatize everything on the planet Earth are basically using the ruse of financial crises in order to impose austerity measures and basically dismantle democracy in any way, shape, or form possible. We see it with Scott Walker. He's trying to bust up the unions. There's the financial crisis. You know, this financial crisis arose after he gave away tax breaks to corporations. You know, the federal budget crisis occurred after we gave huge tax breaks to the wealthiest individuals. Okay? These are occurring after the tax breaks. The tax breaks, they've set the tax rate first, and then they've decided, well, now what kind of budget do we have, okay? It's intrinsically unfair, and it's a ruse. It's an absolute ruse. They're using this quote-unquote financial crisis as a means for imposing draconian measures and for dismantling democracy, for dismantling unions, for doing anything they can to further empower the wealthy and their corporations. Okay, it's a shock doctrine, and it's happening right under your noses. Okay, if you can't see it in Wisconsin, Scott Walker, they slipped into the legislation while no one was looking, a provision that allows Scott Walker to sell off the power plants to whoever he wants for however much he wants at his own discretion. Okay, no big contracts. And the Koch brothers are already advertising for employees in Wisconsin. He's going to sell off the power plants to the Koch brothers. So they're taking public resources and selling them off to these private cronies for a song. Okay, so it's what's happening is that the Republicans are wholly owned by wealthy corporations and wealthy individuals who control those corporations, and they are doing the bidding, and their agenda is to privatize everything in sight. And they're going to privatize it by busting unions. They're going to divide and conquer the American worker. Okay, now, labor doesn't stand a chance unless they organize. Unions are the only countervailing force to these people. Okay, so of course they're targeting the unions. They want the unions busted. They want the unions gone. Okay, meanwhile, under the guise of this financial crisis, they're going to impose all kinds of ridiculous measures that no one would ever go for under normal circumstances. The financial crisis has been manufactured by giving away tax breaks to the wealthiest. Okay, in Michigan it's even worse. In Michigan, they're about to sign legislation that would allow the governor to appoint a person or a corporation to control a town if that town is deemed by the governor to be in a financial crisis. So the idea is that the governor decides that a town is in financial crisis, and they appoint someone or some firm to run the town. And what they can do, they can abolish the local government, they can disband public officials, they can terminate contracts, they can basically turn the town upside down under the ruse of a financial crisis that the governor thinks is in trouble, quote unquote. Okay, so this is fascism coming to your town. They're going to take over your town in Michigan, and they're going to run it for profit. Okay, so good luck with that. It's all the massive privatization of everything, and it's happening now. And the Republicans are doing it under the guise of a financial crisis, one that they manufactured. The people who created the housing bubble, the ones at the top, the ones who made all the money, they aren't paying a cent. Okay, it's all being pushed onto labor, onto the working people. The working people are being forced to bear the burden of the mistakes of the wealthy, and they are being broken up. It's being used as an excuse to force them into more severe austerity measures. Okay, so the idea that the wealthy could pay more, I think it's long overdue. And your math, wherever you took your math from, it's a straw man. It's a straw man argument. I would be willing to push wealthy tax rates significantly higher, not 5%. I'm talking 20%, 25%. I would push it much higher. Historically, it's been as high as 90%, 75% income tax. You know, the wealthy also don't pay anything in property taxes. There's no federal property tax anywhere, okay? So that would be a good idea too, to make them pay a little for their property, you know, but they want to eliminate estate taxes. They call it the death tax. The death tax, if anything, is a property tax that's deferred until after you die, but they're all for eliminating the quote-unquote death tax because they are controlled, they are bought, hired, controlled by the wealthiest individuals and their corporations in this country, okay? And they just want to completely empower the wealthy so that they have nothing but elasticity, and then poor working staffs have no organizations, they'll bust up the unions, so they're pushed to the point of death, okay? They're pushed to the point where they can no longer afford to live, okay? To bare survival. And that's when the wealthy will be happy, okay? When there's maybe enough for them to find, to pay rent and to buy food. And, you know, the wealthy don't care about the labor class in this country at all. And Obama is being a wimp. We need someone more like FDR. Go back and listen to some of FDR's speeches, and he spelled out quite lucidly what the problem with this country is and what the wealthy are trying to do to this country, okay? They're trying to privatize everything so that even breathing will be done for profit, okay? So, so enjoy. That's all for now.